What is up, y'all? It's Bacon. So I've been investing in multifamily real estate in the US for about 3 years now, and all of which has been done remotely, with me either being on the other side of the country or in Europe. Obviously, it can be stressful at times, especially at the beginning as I learned all the little intricacies of my newfound venture. However, it's a great form of wealth building for your future, which I'm guessing if you're watching this video, you already know that. Over the years, I've made plenty of mistakes, which I've learned from, along with plenty of other situations, which just I see as part of the educational learning process, because anything worth doing is going to have a pretty tough learning curve. If you're willing to risk a little money and put in the effort, investing in real estate from out of state is certainly doable and is almost always a fun ride. Or maybe I'm just a glutton for punishment. Either way, I love it. If you're researching investing in real estate and you're unsure where you'd like to invest or how to invest, don't overthink it and let the analysis paralysis take hold. Sometimes you just have to dive in head first. Hopefully, I can answer some of your questions about the how or where to begin your research and so on. If you like this video, remember, smash the like button, subscribe, and especially comment any questions, suggestions you may have, or just if you'd like to be involved in the weekly cash giveaway. You can message me on Instagram or just comment. I'll pick somebody weekly. Let's do it. Cheers. Oh yeah, real quick question for the cash giveaway. In the video earlier this week, what was the name of that financial institution that had a really fun name that I liked? It reminds me of a box of money because of the name and the fact that they just do smaller short-term loans. If you watch the video and you know the answer, I'll be sending out donations, gift cards, whatever, on Sunday. The link to the video will be in the description below, so comment or DM me on Instagram, whatever works. First, a quick 30,000 foot view of my history and how I got started in real estate investing from out of state. At the time of my first multifamily purchase, which was in Ohio, I was living in Southern California. I knew I wasn't going to start investing there as it's one of the most expensive real estate markets in the US. By no means is it impossible, it just wasn't logical in my eyes because it didn't mesh with my plan. Don't get it twisted though, I absolutely love living in San Diego. So in preparation to my new venture, the year before my first purchase, I sold the single family home in Florida, which I had owned for about 8 years. Cashed out around $65,000. Nothing to write home about, but it was a good start. Next, while working and living in Djibouti, if you don't know, it's a real place and it's on the Horn of Africa. I'd purchased some Bitcoin, which I'd also sold for a decent return, along with cashing out what was my current 401k. Once all was said and done and I liquidated everything that I deemed expendable, I had about $125,000 to $150,000 in the bank to make my first purchase. At that point, I knew I wanted to get into multifamily, but I wasn't sure where I wanted to invest, how to get started. I didn't want to just jump into a bad deal and lose everything. It led to questions like, who do I use as a realtor? Do I use a property manager? If so, how do I find a good one? You know, all the usual stuff that turns possible investors into analysis professionals with no action ever taken. Fortunately, although I hadn't lived there in 15 plus years, I was born and raised in Ohio, so at least I had a feel for the state in that region. The Midwest is a great entry point into real estate investing because, well, the cost of entry. So that narrowed down my search at least a little bit, but now down to my primary questions. The who. The what, I don't mean what am I buying, that's obvious. The when, as soon as I find the right place and deal. The where, obviously location. The why, again, obvious. And the how, which is a big one. Now, I feel like when you're just getting started, one of the hardest questions to answer is the where. If you live in a super expensive city or just a place you'd prefer to not invest in for whatever reason, it can be a very tricky question. You should narrow down your research to a small list of 3 or 4 cities, which you can then start researching items like population growth or decline, major businesses moving in or out of the area. Is the city more of a renter's market or maybe a buyer's market? But most importantly, you need to visit. And I think you need to visit multiple times to really get a good feel of the city. Even if it's not a city that you could see yourself living in, it should be a city that after a few visits you can say, I can see why people live here at least. Personally, that's also how I treat my apartment units. If I wouldn't live in it, why would I expect someone else to be happy there? Fortunately for me, my sister lived in Cincinnati, which was on my list of cities. It was a city that I'd never been to because I was raised in Northeast Ohio. So as a family, we never had a reason to go down there. So next I did what I think is one of the most important actions to take before starting to invest from out of state: spend a little bit of money and visit. I planned my first trip to Cincinnati as a family visit mixed with a business trip to start researching the city as a whole, because if you've been to pretty much any city in the Midwest, you know that one block will be really nice and clean and family friendly, nice bars and restaurants, all that. Or the next block you may get shot. So again, I say visit, visit, visit again. It's worth the cost, and it's a business expense once you actually make the purchase. The first trip leads to the who. Who will you use to find the property that best suits you? To try and sound like the great Dr. Seuss, who's the who? The first who is who's gonna make or break you. Who will you use to find that first property? A good local realtor or broker, obviously. They should already know what you're gonna need to learn about the area, like how are the neighborhoods? What types of people are living there? Is the neighborhood more transient? Is it more family focused? Is it a college town? Could be any type of neighborhood. What are you looking for? Once I had my first trip planned out, I started in on the first step, scheduling showings with multiple realtors. You can schedule these through any number of real estate sites or through referrals, which is usually best, but I didn't have that option, so I threw a dart out there and hoped for the best. My first trip to Cincinnati, I scheduled 3 full days with 4 separate realtors. Some of the showings were the same property, but basically I saw it as a job interview. They get paid to find you what you're looking for. This doesn't give anybody the right to be a prick to them, because more importantly, they're not your employee. If y'all don't get along the way you'd like, or more important, if you're looking for, say, large multifamily properties and the realtor starts showing you condos, it's not gonna work out, so move on. Either they aren't listening to you, they don't have experience or knowledge of what you're looking for, or they think they know better, none of which will end well for anybody. After days of driving all over the city and spending hours with various realtors, you should have a decent feel for the city, and most importantly, narrowed down your choice to a single realtor. They really need to mesh well with your personality and understand what you're looking for in a property or properties that you're looking to invest in. After that first visit, you'll start receiving the listings from realtors you worked with when they're posted to the MLS. They may even hook you up with some of those off-market deals. Try to narrow it down to one realtor so you're not wasting anybody's time. The second trip will be way more efficient because you can plan it around specific properties. Personally, my realtors did virtual showings with me, which gave me the opportunity to plan appropriately depending on the properties I really liked and wanted to see in person. Obviously, at this point, you could just view properties online through virtual showings to make a purchase without ever seeing the property in person, and plenty of people do this, including myself, now. However, in the beginning, if you're going to make a quality, educated decision on a purchase, knowing the area and actually laying eyes on the property will alleviate a ton of stress. And personally, there was just a good feeling about it, getting that first property under your belt and getting to see it in person. The next hurdle to deal with is the what. What financial institution will help you fund the deal? If you're not a cash buyer, like the majority of us, you'll need to work with a bank or a credit union or a mortgage broker. Depending on the institution, once you have a business history with them, getting a loan can become easier, but the bank is usually the biggest hurdle of the whole process, especially in the beginning. You can never be certain, even if you have a history with the bank, or even a specific banker, it doesn't mean they'll be easy to work with. Also, there are plenty of mortgage brokers who, for a fee, can get you in contact with those smaller financial institutions who can be a little more lenient in their lending practices, but tend to have a slightly higher interest rate. With my purchases, when there was any issue, it was always the bank. My first purchase, since I didn't have a history with any of the local banks, I went through a broker. They were personable, great communication, and they were quick to get me in contact with a smaller local bank. At first, they were great to work with. The problem ended up being during the appraisal. When that came back, the bank's appraisal came in at less than half the purchase price. At first, I thought, well, maybe the numbers weren't there, or maybe the comps prove that it's not worth the actual purchase price, or maybe it's a bad deal. That was incorrect. In hindsight, it wasn't the fault of the broker. I just didn't know how it worked, but they basically said the value of a 10-unit apartment complex was the equivalent of a standard 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, single-family home in the exact same neighborhood. I guess that's not impossible, but that's not a standard comparison you should be able to make. This setback ended up being my first lesson learned. You can talk with sellers' realtors to ask if they have a lender that they suggest. Thankfully, this realtor was a commercial broker. We explained to him the situation, he laughed at the absurdness of the appraisal, and he hooked me up. After that, it was a smooth process to the end. Remember, the seller's realtor wants to sell the property also and get their commission, so they can be helpful depending on the person. So don't forget on your follow-up purchases, if you had a good feeling about the seller's realtor, or for some reason you just didn't enjoy working with your realtor, you can jump ship. If they want you as a client, they'll work for you in purchasing or selling a property. Like in my first purchase, although they were great personally, my realtor was more experienced with single-family homes, whereas the seller's realtor was a commercial broker. Things change and you're not contractually obligated to any one realtor. It's all about the relationship, the knowledge, and how well you guys work together and get the goals accomplished. Before completing the purchase, you'll need to put a little focus on the next item, the how. How are you going to manage your property once the sale's complete, the ink's dry, the keys have been turned over, you now need to contact tenants, get out the new leases, change utilities into your name or maybe your company's name, begin a rehab plan, which then you're going to need to find a good contractor. It can be a very extensive list depending on the property that you've purchased. For some people, they're going to manage the property on their own. Great. They'll save 8 to 12% per month, plus placement fees, most likely some other random fees here and there. But in my opinion, a good property manager will make your life 1,000 times easier and is definitely worth the money, especially in the beginning. The big thing in that statement is a good property manager. I've been extremely fortunate. I found my property manager through Bigger Pockets, and it's been an amazing experience. She claims she was only on there for a few weeks because she just wanted to check it out. If that's true, I'm not sure, but I don't have any reason to doubt it, so I just got super lucky. She's been an amazing property manager, the type that makes it hard to invest in other cities because I'd have to try my luck again on something that's extremely important to my business. When working with a property manager, you need somebody like the one that I have. They need to be easy to work with, extremely responsive, very attentive. You need to be on the same page. And I think what's also very important, they're not trying to build their business to the extent small details start getting missed. Mine likes the 10 or so investors she has, and she'd like to continue helping us grow our portfolios as it makes both of us money. It's the perfect scenario compared to those large property management companies where you're just one of 100+ clients and you're probably the small fish. Having such an awesome property manager leads to lesson learned number 2. Unless your current realtor is absolutely amazing, if you have a property manager that you love working with and they're also a realtor, use them. They know your business, the type of tenants you want, the location you're looking to invest in, the types of properties you're looking for, and they have vested interest in the property since they'll be the ones managing them. And they'll send you those coveted off-market deals. It's a win-win for everybody. So I hope this video gave you a little insight into how to get started in real estate investing from out of state or, like myself, out of the country. These examples and scenarios are just a few of the situations I've ran into while investing over the years, and without issues, we'd never learn and grow into better investors. So get out there and dive in. Don't let the analysis paralysis hold you up. If you like this video, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, and definitely comment or DM me on Instagram to be part of the weekly cash giveaway. Cheers and good luck.